Hello racing fans, so here we are again, and today we're going to look at the MiniGT version of this vehicle. I do know that Inno64 and Tarmac Works make this casting of this vehicle, and to be honest with you, they're probably better than this because they're at a much higher price point. But for some reason, I don't really have a love for any of the liveries of this particular Mercedes. So I just went with the cheaper option, and historically, at least for me, MiniGT does a pretty decent job, at least well enough for the prices that they're going for. I do assume maybe someday we'll get a Tarmac Works and an Inno64 of this vehicle, but when they have different liveries that I actually seem to enjoy. Okay, so anyways, typical MiniGT box and information. So, as usual, I try to do a little research, learn about the kind of cars that I'm collecting here. And the Mercedes Benz, its chassis code W201, is the small-sized compact car for Mercedes. I believe it is their first compact design. It was designed by a Bruno Sacco, and I guess there's 600 million British pounds worth of R&D in this vehicle, and many say it was over-engineered, being a Mercedes. And over 1.8 million of these cars were sold. Granted, there's all different body styles and stuff and different trim levels, and this is one of the most extreme trim level, of course, because it's a race car. Some of the engineering that was a little atypical would be the anti-dive and anti-squat geometry of its suspension system, and there was also the introduction of some electronic fuel injection. This was between 1982 and 1993 that this series of Mercedes was sold, so quite a few decades ago. Now, the engine choices for normal road vehicles were between 1.8 to 3.2 liters, but this racing version has a highly tuned engine, of course. So the Evolution II, which I guess is this, was sold between 1990 and 91, and to my understanding, this one had 380 horsepower, and cost 180,000 euros back then. So that's an expensive car, but again, it's not a normal vehicle. I mean, it's got this crazy wide body kit, a lot of aerodynamic features. I mean, it's a totally different vehicle, really. It just resembles a road car. And then it was really successful in the Deutsche Touring Championships, the DTM, the German road racing championship. And so it won 16 of 24 races back in 1992, which is this car here. And you'll see the name on the window says Lohr. This is a female driver, Ellen Lohr. I assume she's German as well, because that name seems German to me. Excuse me. She seems to be the only female driver to have won a DTM race. So this car actually has some historic value there. Besides the fact that it was an awesome race car, this driver itself, she set some history. Okay, so this is competing against BMW M3s and the Ford Sierra RS Cosworth, in these races. Okay, now there's also 502 of these made, this racing version. 500 of them were black, and only 2 of them were silver. So, granted, I don't know if they're factoring in the race cars in those numbers. I'm just getting this stuff off Wikipedia, and half the time it seems like that information is wrong. So I apologize, but I'm learning what I can. Okay. So we've compared to the photos, and it looks alright to me. So let's get into the other details of this thing. So off the bat, the printing is nice because it seems like they're tampo prints. I don't see any of that wrinkly stuff around the graphics, unless the whole car is a decal, but it's a smooth paint finish. So, and actually this silver is really nice. I don't really see any speckling in it. It's such a fine grained silver that it's highly reflective, as you can see in my photo booth here. So it's nice to see that the graphics hopefully won't crack off, because I think they're painted. It's not a decal. Okay, so the wheels themselves look pretty good, and I think most MiniGTs roll well, so you don't need to ask, does it roll? I'm pretty sure all of them roll. These DTM wheels are really cool. They're like fan blades, turbines. I like them. There's a little black in the center there I think on the real car I'd probably have the Mercedes Star, but for MiniGT's price, I think that's good enough. Okay, be mindful of this emblem. I was watching Champion DJK's channel and he bent this just pulling it out of the box. So I think if you took some tweezers, if you bend this and you slowly bend it back, you might be able to straighten it out. Because if it's steel, you know, I think it's either stainless steel or it's gotta be stainless, otherwise it would rust. So stainless can bend a few times before breaking. If it was aluminum, though, it would probably snap. Okay, anyways. Yeah, it's nice to see that they put a little black paint wash in the grill. So that's nice. The plastic headlights look okay. It's got the vertical strakes of an actual glass assembly, so that's nice. I'm noticing that a lot on my models. Maybe I just never paid attention to it before, but a lot of these models now have the actual ribs in the glass, so it really looks realistic. And also the side has these ribs here in the turn signal, so that's nice looking. These vents here have a texture and they're painted black, so that's pretty good. Granted, the black isn't covering the whole thing, but again, for this price, it's pretty darn good. Seems to be a separate piece here for this chin lip here. Might be glued on, I assume. Looks good though. Be mindful of that star again, so I gotta be careful handling this. Screwed together base if you want to paint it, do a wheel swap, pretty nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you what the car is. That's one thing MiniGT should really do, you know, educate people on their models. Okay, so rear-wise, let's see. Well, unfortunately, the star isn't perfectly aligned. It seems to be rotated a little bit. And it's nice to see that something in the license plate. I guess this must be a sponsor. I'm not sure what Baumler is, though. Nice to see some silver paint on this three-dimensional exhaust tip. Right, very good. Black in the middle. And then again, nice to see all this tampo printing. Pretty thick taillights, looking good. We got some ribbing on the side blinkers again, and actually the whole thing, so that's accurate to a Benz of this era. And the wing itself isn't super thick, so that's nice. Okay, now this is where I have a problem usually with. I feel like the defroster lines on this one are a little too thick or too tight. You know, you can't see anything in the interior because it's just the defroster lines are taking up like 30% of the view. So for me, I'd rather just have no defroster lines so I can see some of the interior. Because look at this picture of the real car. Can you see defroster lines? I don't see any defroster lines. Maybe the race car had no defroster lines. But anyways, it's just seeing all this is just not accurate for me. You know, I think they would save some money if they just skipped that, and it would probably look nicer. Okay, but it is nice that they printed, you know, the driver's name again on the windows, so that's pretty nice. The silver is passing over that black there, but again, for the price, it's okay. The mirrors are looking really nice. Oh boy, wow, I almost thought I broke it, but they're those rubbery mirrors, and it's so thin. I mean, I wouldn't want to be flexing that a lot. It would break eventually, but it's nice to know. If that was plastic, I would have had a broken model already. So that is the great thing about MiniGT. It's one of the reasons why I love this brand so much. Okay, so they got you know, molded in wiper blade and it's painted black. And then yeah, boy, this interior. I guess one nitpick is this star is way too high up. Right? It's almost like yeah, that's just way too high. The height of it is almost as tall as the entire star itself, so that's not very realistic. Ideally, MiniGT would have a smaller piece of metal down here to tab into that grill, or just have a much deeper opening so they can just slide the star all the way down, or much closer to that, you know, grill. But it's not something I want to modify. I think I'll break it. So I'm sure there's detail in the interior, but being black is going to be hard to see. But oh boy! And so yeah, molded windows again are really distorted, so you can still see a roll cage and a steering wheel. Seat, it seems like there's a racing seat obviously in the driver's side. What I don't know is what's going on the passenger side, if there's a seat or not. I don't think there's a seat there. No. Okay, so there is no passenger seat, which makes sense for a race car. There's some sort of box there, some electronics or something, who knows. So that's pretty realistic. You know, they could have been lazy and just used a regular road car interior, but no, they did a good job. You know, that roll cage also isn't super thick. There's a brand called CM's that has super thick, goofy roll cages. This one's not so bad. Although the front part of the roll cage is... It would be nice if it was pushed up against the window more, the window frame more. Okay, but I guess I'm a little unrealistic now, because this price of this model isn't that high, so I think for the price this is a great model. Okay, well, there we are. So I'm pretty happy. Nothing really to complain about. The highlights of this particular model are the fact that the graphics are there and they're printed on. They're not decals, so I know long term that's not going to be a problem for me. And I gotta say, for the price, it's pretty nice. Again, I'm pretty sure Inno64 and Tarmac Works are going to be better. They'll probably have like decals on the inside, like actual race harnesses on the inside, and perhaps disc brakes, although I don't think you would see disc brakes on the real car with these wheels, so that's a feature that I don't really need to have on this particular casting. Alright, I don't really have too many Benzes in my collection, so the closest thing I have is actually this Hot Wheels. It's one of those car culture things, premiums, and I did a 3D print hubcap thing here, and I think this is a mid-size car from a whole different era, but it's clearly bigger than the compact 190E. Okay. Alright guys, well as usual, thanks for watching, and keep on racing.